Welcome to the Collective Perspective, where there's this important job to be done, and we only need 4 people to do it. Everybody, anybody, nobody is somebody. And this is a coalition roll call. So tell me, who is somebody?
Yo, I'm always gonna be somebody, man. Somebody. This your boy EJ Ernest, man, calling from Southside, on the line with all my guys here, man. New guys, checking in, man, as your friend, your lover, your brother, your son, your cousin, all that good stuff. Road dog, man, and I'm just here, man, talking about, again, the word I want to use tonight for the word of the day, or the word to check in, Rob, is capacity, man. I had a member from the church send me a book that she's reading, and talks about the 5 laws of capacity, that you can't have something that you don't have the capacity to maintain or to have. So I just want to put that idea on people's mind tonight. So when you're praying, you're trying to work, your magic to bring things into existence, make sure you also have the capacity to handle the very things that you're asking for. With that, I'm in.
We need everybody. Who is everybody? Everybody stand up.
Let me go ahead and check in for everybody. This is David Seaton. I've been doing a lot of reading on W.E.B. Du Bois, and I've been reading his short book, The Talented 10. So I just want to put that out there in the universe for everybody who's watching tonight. Everybody has talent, and it's your responsibility. It's your responsibility to invest and perfect your talent so that you can better yourself and the people in the community in which you exist.
Shay.
Nobody stand up. Nobody stand up.
Yeah, I can talk to nobody today. This is Kelvin Taylor on the line. My word for the day is consume. And for this year, we should consume less and create more.
Good stuff, brother. Good stuff.
And I guess I'd be anybody. Anybody, and my word for the day, I'm Robert Orr from the South Side of Chicago. And my word for the day is emotions. Take your emotions out and learn how to listen. Kill them. Let your emotions die for a minute and learn to pick up the perspective. Welcome to the Collective Perspective, where our responsibility, we take it on full-hearted to make sure that these conversations are had all over the world. EJ came up with a fantastic thought to say, man, we need to have these in every state in the United States. So that's our goal, that's our aim, and that's what we do. You can catch our show on the Collective Perspective on YouTube. Go ahead, like, subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you can get all of the subscriptions. But with that being said, you can also email us at collective2network. And if you have any thoughts and suggestions about what we should talk about, how you want to have input, how you want to support it, whatever you need to do, make sure you go to our email at collective2network@gmail.com. But today we got 2 special guests in the building. We got, man, I don't even know if I call Brian a guest, man. Brian, what is your word of the day? Go ahead and talk yourself real quick, man. I mean, how are you a guest, brother?
I know, man. Brian a play cousin.
Okay, Peloton.
That's what he is, man.
Kendall's 30-minute pop ride.
Who that?
My word today is protection. You need to protect your energy, protect your crew, protect your family, and protect the things that are important. So that would be my word of the day. I am Brian, or my pseudonym is H-Rap-B. So that would be it.
Shay, brother.
Other guests in the house on this panel is Brooklyn in the house, without a doubt.
Bump.
Cloud that everybody yap about. Tiger Toledo.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, thank you, fellas, for having me on today. I'm really honored and I'm humbled to be on this platform, man. If I were to pick a word of the day, it would be conformity. So the opposite of fear is conformity. So before you can actually have the courage to be yourself and be comfortable and stand in your own divinity, people tend to conform first to please that other person before they actually muster up that courage to be themselves. So I would say the conformity would be my word of the day.
And that was off the cuff, bruh. That's
Appreciate
good.
you, bro.
Check this out though. It's say we're gonna call it at 7:45-ish. We got 7:45-ish. We're gonna have to say ish because we got the worldview with David Seaton. David Seaton gonna fill us in. David, you had a close challenge. You got him faded, Dave, but man, my man Brian went to 36 states. Man, I don't know how many Tiger Toledo went to, or Kelvin, because I never asked him. But Brian went to 36 states, and then Kelvin, you've been to everyone except all the states except 4. You haven't went to Montana, you haven't went to South Dakota, North Dakota, and Alaska. All the states nobody want to go to, right? So,
You said Kelvin or you said me?
no, I said I didn't know how many Kelvin went to, but
Oh.
I'm saying you went to like 46 states and all the
That's
U.S.
correct.
territories except
All
Montana.
the U.S. territories except for Guam. You are correct.
Okay. But Brian went to 36, man. So Brian impressed me, man. I was like, Brian was on the run, though. Brian was like, he was on the run.
Right.
It was a
Yeah, that make
difference
a
how he
difference.
made all his numbers.
That make a difference.
Anyway, Kelvin, question of the day. Kelvin, you posed a question last week, man. Let's get this conversation started. You posed it last week about victimhood. Reiterate the question. We're going to talk about victimhood in the first half. And then in the second half of the platform, we're going to be talking about how should Black people or Black men, how should we disagree with each other? And should people lose support in the midst of an evolution that's going on in America? So Kevin, go ahead and kick us off.
That I think Dave posed that question last week.
I apologize. Well, Dave, it's you. I'm sorry, Dave.
The question for the first conversation that we're having today is, do Black people play the victim? Are Black people prone to claiming victimhood rather than taking responsibility for their destiny and for their direction?
Well, I'm kicking it off with a name called
I'm
Candace.
loving that.
I'm gonna kick it off with a conversation with a name, Candace Owens. Candace Owens came and posed a situation to. She's pushing the narrative that victimhood in the Black community needs to stop. That's basically what she's saying. She's basically saying that we're making excuses. Are Black people making excuses with the history of America and taking a disposition or a position of victimhood? Anybody can jump in any moment, but I really want to hear what Brian got to say, because Brian fired up about this all the time.
Yeah, I'm looking at his body language.
Brian always fired up.
Look at that face. He got that natural, like for real. Come on with it, B.
I tend to say no. We could look. I think far too many times in the United States of America, we take a small sample size of things and we project that. Well, it is projected upon the masses. Like criminalization. Black people. Look at this guy, and he's the representative for the Black community.
Right.
And there are a ton of people in our community that go, "Hey man, the man holding me back." There's a ton of people that's making excuses, but I would argue for every one of those guys, there are 10 to 25 of us that's getting up, busting our ass, creating opportunities for ourselves and others. So it's kind of like when you say, do we use the victim? Do we play the victim card too much? Well, if I would pose this question to Candace Owens or anybody who stands on that side of the fence. Why is it that we know 91% of the Black people in America commit crimes against other Black people, and by and large, people in America don't know what the counter statistic is? What is white on white crime statistics? What are Asian on Asian? What are Latino on Latino? But you could ask just about anybody in America what are the statistics for Black on Black crime, and they'll parrot it out without even thinking. So are we playing the victims, or are we actually victimized, and people pick out and cherry pick certain people to represent that victimization?
Mm-hmm.
Tiger, I know you want to jump in. Tiger Toledo, I know you.
Oh yeah. No, this is wow. This is fantastic. This is a great topic, right? So my stance on victimhood is it is validated, right? We can trace back to history and in current day of us being victimized from the government to, you know, everything else. But at the same time, we should not allow it to cripple us, right? So understanding that, hey, this does happen to us, but we do have to seek ways on navigating around it, because either way, we're going to have to do that, right? I remember when Dick Gregory, going back to the last comment, Dick Gregory said, you commit crimes where you live, right? So just like when he said, who you think is committing crimes in Italy? Italians.
Right.
Same people that are committing crimes in Asia are Asian, you know? So those are the people that are creating crimes or causing crimes in their own neighborhoods. So I just think, like, you know, it is validated. We have a history of being victimized in America as well as other places in the world, but we cannot let it cripple us.
Ashe. Let me go on and jump in there, especially considering what you said, brother, about letting it cripple us. When you identify with the victim, with that victim narrative, what happens is you naturally give your power to the predator. Okay.
Indeed.
So what happens is like the type of work that I do, I'm listening for whether or not a person identifies with the victim or whether or not they identify with the predator voice, right? And what we try to do is get them to identify with the predator voice because that voice empowers them, you see, naturally. So whether or not so-called Black, and I use so-called Black people because I realize that concept does not exist. You know, it started with Blumenbach back in the 1700s and just kind of digging into that and realizing even right now that research is being debunked. So when we talk about this group of people in America who identify as Black or considered to be Black, what's important for me to know is like, you know, these two brothers that have gone before me is that, first of all, especially what Brian mentioned, is that of course there are Black people who do identify with the victim voice. They clearly blame everyone, right? But I like what the Tao says, the Tao Te Ching says, is when you blame, it never ends, right? See, when you start blaming people, it never comes to an end because then I got to blame this, then I got to blame that. And then it just never ends. And so then, like our last brother said, when am I able to actually do something about the particular circumstances that has caused me injury or a violation, you know, or the wound, right? So there are a lot of people, and I know that I've been privy and a part of that group of people who has always been pointing the finger, you know, well, you know, the white man or my mama or my daddy or, you know what I'm saying, the police, all of these particular people who, you know, cause injuries in our community. At the same time, it's not that I don't think that these people need to be held accountable and that they do need to make things right. I do think that the people who have caused our community problems, especially the government, because there's been policies legislated by the government to actually injure and set this group back and relegate these people to the bottom. And these people in the government specifically need to be held responsible, as they have. You know, they've tried to ameliorate things with using other policies to correct the situation. But however, I think that needs to be a continued process. So do Black people play the victim? I think that there's a percentage of people that do. However, I don't think that all Black people do play the victim. I know that there are a lot of people who are really serious about making, you know, what we call it in that Kwanzaa, what's that Kwanzaa principle? Self-determination. There are a lot of people who are self-determined. They're not dependent on somebody else to make a difference for them. They're doing it themselves. And with that, I mean.
Go ahead. Somebody else about to say something.
No, I was about to say I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm generally the polemicist in the conversations in which I participate. So I thought I was going to be the sole person to recognize that there are a percentage of African Americans who do play the victim. I remember about 15 years ago, I was in my first marriage, and my wife had all of her nephews and all of her nephews' friends. They were like the little neighborhood, called themselves like the little neighborhood drug dealers in the northwest suburbs. And between the six of them, they only had enough weed to roll one blunt. They're the drug dealers in the neighborhood. So at the time, At the
Wow.
time, I was working in the mortgage industry, and I was running mortgage companies. So what I would do is I would come home in the middle of the day, they hanging out in front of the house, just kind of kicking it or whatever. So I remember one time I showed them a check that I had for 1 week. And the reason that I wanted to show them that check was to let them know that there was a legal way that they could go out and earn a living and make more money than the little money that they were doing selling weed. And I remember one of the young men in the group, he asked me, "Did you go to college?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Oh, you took the easy way out."
Mm.
So but again, when I talked to that same young man, it was, oh, the police always hassling me, or, a white man is not going to give me a job, or, I talked to, black men on our radio show on WVON, and we have older black dudes call in when we talk about starting businesses, and they'll say, well, a white man at a bank is not going to give a black man a loan. That's the victimization that I'm talking about that exists in our community. And all of you brought up good points. B, you made up the point about black on black crime, but if you look at the FBI statistics say that 85 to 90% of crime happens against people of the same race, because like somebody else said, like you said, Tiger Toledo, you commit crimes where you live. But again, I don't even want to. I don't even buy into the black on black crime narrative, because as soon as you buy into that and you even try to have that conversation, just like that, you've become the victim, because you've allowed the narrative to be defined that there is something intrinsic in the African American experience with regards to crime that is separate and different from every other group of people out there. The last thing I'll say is that while the African American experience in this country is unique, and that there have been government policies that have relegated us to the bottom socioeconomically and having access and other issues like that, you only need to pay attention to what's going on in the world to know that most people in the world, I think the percentage is 85 to 90% of the people on this planet are poor. If you go to China, Foxconn had a dormitory where they're making people build iPhone and wouldn't let them go home, and people were jumping off the building committing suicide. What did they do? They built nets around the building to catch the people so they couldn't kill themselves.
Stop
and
it.
then pulled them out the net and threw them back on the floor and told them to get back
Stop
to work.
it.
Yeah, I saw that.
You go look in Russia right now, people are being murdered because they're marching in the street against Vladimir Putin. North Korea, 33% of the people who live in North Korea are starving to death because Kim Jong-un is taking the wealth of that country, such that it is, and he's not feeding his citizens. So, and I just say that because it's very easy to be myopic and look at the world through the experience that you have in your own country. But there are 8 billion plus people on this planet. So I think it's incumbent on us as African Americans, number one, to know that that people in the world today have it just as bad, if not worse than Black people. LeBron James got in a lot of trouble recently because he didn't want to speak out against the atrocities going on in China. Why? Because the NBA is in a partnership with China to make money. So it's a lot bigger than certainly our experience in the United States with regards to slavery is unique, but we're not the only people who are suffering or who have suffered. And it's important that we keep that perspective when we have these types of conversations.
And you know what,
Dave,
Rob, before you jump in, Rob, can we break the third wall real quick? Dave, can you tell us the context of that word myopic, please? Were you talking about nearsighted, unimaginative? Please break that down.
Well, when I say myopic,
my next question. Hey, myopic. I said I never heard that word ever. Like I didn't even know how to begin spelling that joke.
Well, when I say myopic, it simply means that when you look at the world simply through your own experience and your own lens.
Gotcha.
And it is very easy, like I say, as an African American, to say nobody has it worse than us. It's very easy for Black women, single Black women in America, to say nobody has it worse than black
That's good,
women in
brother.
America
That's good.
until you talk to a woman who lives, until you talk to a mother who lives in Syria or Iraq or Iran or Jordan, who sent her son down to the store to get a loaf of bread, and he got murdered because a United States drone dropped a missile at 30,000 feet because they were trying to kill some terrorist on some list. So, you know,
good,
that's
brother.
just to give it context.
That's good. That's good.
Hey,
That's
Dave.
real good.
Hey, Dave.
Wait,
Dave, I gotta
Brian-
ask you a
Brian wanted to
question.
jump
Let's
in.
get to it, man. Let's
Brian
get to
wanted
this
to jump in.
conversation.
Yeah,
Huh?
Brian wanted to
Yeah,
jump in real quick.
Go ahead.
Dave, I totally understand where you're coming from, but okay, I would use our brother here, Ernest. Ernest is a well-read brother. He's a very intelligent, well-informed brother, and he didn't even realize what was going on. And I think he considers himself, and I consider him a person with his finger on the pulse of the world, not just the United States of America. So when you have most people in the United States, most people on earth are cued in by somebody else. You know, most people don't go out and get that information that you have about like most, you say Tenement Square to the average person, they don't know what happened and when those brothers got run over by tanks, those Asian brothers got run over by tanks and things of that nature. They don't even know when you hear the words Vladimir Putin, most of them are going, what? So the only pushback I would give to you is, how is a person who isn't living, they're just surviving, supposed to stop and look at the entire world when, hell, if I would have I was laying in my bed a week ago thinking, let me run to the grocery store right around the corner, let me run to Pete's. Had I got up and gone to Pete's, I may have gotten shot because it was a dude who got shot. I laid here and didn't get up and get shot. So how does a person who's living in that environment, I don't think it's fair to say they should look at the entire world because I'm in my own war zone. I mean, like me, let me show you what I mean, Dave. When I was 15 years old, me, my homeboy Sean, my homeboy Ant, you know, the summer job thing, you got a little change in your pocket, it's on fire because you got to spend that money. You got to hurry up, spend that money. And we, you know, our parents cooked every night, but we couldn't stand to have that money in our pocket. So we would routinely say, hey man, let's hurry up and go down to Sammy's before they start shooting.
Right.
Instead of going the long way, going up Evergreen, down Wells to down Division and back the other way. It would have took the same amount of time, but we had this foolish idea to hurry up and go this way before they start shooting. Another thing, I'm standing on Division and Cedric one night, pull up for a jump shot. Somebody shot the ball out of the air. I didn't even run. You know what I thought, Dave? Damn, we just got that ball. So a person who's locked in to his world that much, I don't think it's possible to look at the world through another vision because you don't even realize you're struggling. My friend Tom didn't have shoes all summer. He didn't get shoes until school started. It never dawned on me his family couldn't afford shoes. I just thought I had to become older to realize Tom's parents couldn't afford shoes until he could only get 1 or 2 pair of shoes a year. And we're not gonna worry about no shoes in the summer. You're just gonna play out on the street and your bare feet because you're a little kid. But that's what I'm saying. How can you expect that person to go, hey man, third world countries like Liberia, it's feces on the beach.
Yeah.
You can't, I don't think that person can go, it's way worse than Liberia. Because for one, I didn't even identify that I was in a horrible situation. So I definitely can't go somewhere else and go, it's worse over there.
While the picture that you painted of those individual circumstances are dire, and I certainly acquiesce to that point. That said, African Americans 100 years ago in 1921, when there was no radio, there was no television, there was no internet, there was no telephone, the only thing that they had access to were newspapers and books that they could get their hands on, because also at that same time, there were libraries that said, if you're an African American, you can't come in this building. And studies have been done that show that African Americans as a monolith were more educated about what was going on in the world 100 years ago during an analog age than African Americans are today. And 98 to 99% of African Americans today are walking around with a cell phone, with a smartphone in their pocket, that all they have to do is pick up the phone and say, hey Siri, or hey Alexa, or whatever, ask it a question, it'll answer the question for you and give you 1,000 references that you can go read. So the fact that we have access to, everybody on the planet in 2021 has an access to information that is unprecedented in human history. The fact that we can compare ourselves to ourselves 100 years ago during an analog age and say that we were more informed both nationally and globally, and we had just as much, and there was just as much of an opportunity for you to get murdered 100 years ago, if not more, because the KKK was still walking around and lynching people and weren't getting arrested. And police could still shoot you with impunity to a much larger degree than they do today. So the dangers in our community, the peril in our community, I would venture to say was orders of magnitude more dire 100 years ago, but we were more educated 100 years ago than we are today.
But you suggest a retarded growth. You're suggesting a retarded growth, right?
Retarded, yes.
A retarded growth. You suggested it, right?
And I would suggest that well, first, I don't think the police and outside entities are a greater threat 100 years ago. I think it's framed that way simply because, hey, 51 years ago, a cop killed my pops. 31 years ago, a cop beat the hell out of me for nothing, literally for spinning a basketball on my finger. See, I think when we look at these things, like, we don't even call this trauma porn that people call police brutality lynchings. When you are chasing a young man down the street and you shoot him in his back, that's a lynching. Just because I'm not hanging from a tree doesn't make it any less dangerous. You know what? As a matter of fact, again, I'm gonna use me. I remember a couple years ago when all this whole thing started getting media attention. I remember a police pulling me over, and I literally said, I could die today. I'm a 47, 48-year-old man saying, I could die today. This could be it. That's just like when my grandfather got run out of Florida at age 13 and lost his entire family. That's just like when my grandmother, his wife, got run out of Alabama. So, and in regards to the information, when we spread ourselves out, when you are in a closed box, you're forced, like if me and you moved into the same community, have to protect each other, right? We're forced to share information to keep each other alive. When we spread out and become more citizens of the country, we think we're being informed, but the people who we move next door to don't see what we see. They don't think what's important to me, that's not important to them. Example, Bill Maher didn't understand the concept of when Coca-Cola said, be less white. He couldn't grasp it until Charlemagne the God explained it to him. But Charlemagne the God, because he understood that concept, he was able to educate him. But if we're all walking around pretending that everybody is equal, then what you hear and what I hear, and what a Latino hear, and what a white man hears, those are totally different. You hear the same thing.
Yeah.
We hear it out of totally different ears.
Definitely.
So you'll be ignorant to something that Bill Maher was totally ignorant what Charlemagne the God said. Exactly. So that could, and I do understand the concept of the cell phone. This cell phone right here is more powerful than the computer that got the rocket to the moon. So I get it. But why would I look up somebody else's trauma and I'm dealing with my own?
Yeah, your blues ain't like mine.
Yeah.
Let Tiger get in. I know he had his he wanted to jump in.
Yeah, I was just saying, I agree with you that illusion of inclusion, right? And that just thinking that you're part of it, hey, my struggles are the same struggles that you have, it doesn't even equate, right? And also, like, because I'm originally born and raised in Brooklyn and grew up in the inner city, and inner city is the nice way to put it. I grew up in the ghetto.
Okay.
Right? I grew up in the ghetto where crime, crack, prostitution, you name it, that it was going down there. And like you said, when you shot that basketball, right, and they shot it in the air, that PTSD kicked in. It's like, damn, man, I shot my ball. I just got that ball, right? Because as far as you're concerned, you were so accustomed to that violence being around you. And you're right, as a young king growing up in the hood, last thing you're gonna think about is what's happening in China. You could give a rat's ass what's happening in China and the Russians and the rest of the cats, right? Because in your backyard, once you step outside of that door, you could get shot by not only your peoples, but even the other peoples, right? And the ones that have the badge that will kill you and then, you know, go out for a steak and a burger later on that day. So that we have to realize that we struggle through that, you know, mental, that never got diagnosed. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
We need therapy, man. Especially if you grew up in the hood, in the inner cities. There's so much trauma that we are dealing with that you're like Chicago's full of gangs. We didn't have gangs back then. We had posses, we had cliques, we had sets and stuff like that. So just knowing that, hey, if I go around this block, there's another gang that's just waiting for me to just like pounce on me. And God forbid, there's just that one gang member that want to take it overboard and maybe pull out a knife or pull out a gun and make an example out of me. You realize what that does to the cell of the body, the type of disruption it's doing to the mental. It's like playing music in a nightclub with a lot of bass. You can feel the bass in your chest. It moves you, right? That's the same thing that you're running without when you're walking into a terror dome, a terroristic environment every single day of your life. You trying to get an education in school, you might come across a situation where you'll be attacked or bullied or shot or stabbed. Kids are going through this every day of their lives, like for like 18 years.
Yeah, let me jump in really quickly and just say something because I know
Sure.
Rob wanted to jump in. So what both of you have done is that you have very eloquently illustrated the dangers and the perils that exist in the African American community. And I agree with you. I 100% agree with you that everything that both of you have said is real and that it is dangerous. When we say playing the victim is when you say, because I grew up in those circumstances, that I can never go higher than here. I can never go higher than X because of what I experienced ages 0 through 18, 0 through 21, or 0 through adulthood. That's playing the victim. For every experience that both of you have shared, there are individuals throughout you can go back to what's the woman's name who invented the hot comb? I can never remember her name. C.J. Walker. Madam C.J. Walker was a millionaire in the 1820s during slavery. She didn't walk. If she had thought to herself, well, if I run off the plantation, they're gonna catch me and take me back and cut my foot off, or well, whatever she thought in her head. She did not allow her circumstances. She didn't let her floor dictate her ceiling, and that's what playing the victim is. It's not ignoring the reality of our situations. It's when you say, I'm not going to let my floor dictate my ceiling. That's something I told my daughter, and she's a sophomore in college, and she talked about being a Black woman and the opportunities that she thinks that she may or may not have in life. And I told her, don't let your floor dictate your ceiling.
Now, I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but I will agree with that. But I will also say, take 2 kids from the projects and you give them a piece of clay to mold out, right? Depending on what their parents is telling them in their environment, one might, sculpt a knife with that piece of Play-Doh. And then the other one might sculpt, a building of being a real estate developer. There's so many elements that you can look into that, and it's kind of hard to say, hey, look, you played a victim role when you have been traumatized for so long. you have to reprogram yourself at that point, right?
Really.
So
You know what? And let me,
depends on the vibe.
Hence, playing the victim will retard your ability to evolve to, like you said, take that piece of clay and create a musical note, or to create a high-rise building, or create a business, rather than creating a knife or a gun.
So my perspective on that, again, working with traumatized people, that's the kind of work I do, and understanding. Well, first of all, let me clarify this. I know Dave had mentioned the African American community. First of all, for me, the experience that Brian brought up and Tiger brought up is not the African American community at large, or everyone's not experiencing that. I'm sure Dave knows that. So I just want to clarify that for listeners. Is that this is an experience that a lot of people are having, but it's not the experience that all African Americans are having. But it doesn't mean that they're not being traumatized. Okay. So, but when we talk about trauma, again, we're talking about the brain, and we're talking about, the body's response to a wound. So let's say for all of us, we all in a van, we're driving, we get into a car accident, I might lose an arm. Tiger might, break an ankle. Dave might walk away with not a scratch. You know what I'm saying? But we're all in the same accident. We cannot predict and predetermine how trauma impacts a person. Okay. We don't know what it does to the brain. What we do know, in all cases, we do know that it reorganizes the way the brain works. And we also know that what happens in the brain is that it tries to develop coping skills to be able to deal with that particular trauma. We don't know how it may impact my coping skills, right? So it may make me say, well, I need to focus on my physical survival. So I'm going to make a knife. I'm going to scope a knife with my experience, whereas another person may, like you said in the project, have an experience, and they're going to say, you know what? I'm going to try to make this situation better for other kids that come behind me, because that's the coping skills that is determined. Parents don't really predetermine that, or the environment wasn't really, it just happens. We don't know, what I'm saying? Like, what makes a person respond to trauma the way that they do? So whether some people say because a single mother, I've worked with mothers, man, who were given free resources for their kids, but they're so freaking traumatized that they will not walk 2 blocks to go get those resources, go get diapers. They'd rather have that child walk around. And it's not my job to say, well, you know what, baby, you just need to be self-determined and get yourself together. And you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, because we all here to help you. Because I don't know how the trauma she's been through really impacts her. It's my job as a person who deals with that to have compassion towards this person. And whatever their narrative is to be able to work with them regardless, and however that looks like. Obviously, sometimes we have the capacity to do that. Sometimes we don't. But the point that I'm trying to make, you all, is that we don't know how trauma impacts people, whether it makes them say, I'm going to be a victim, or whether I'm going to be a predator. You need trained professionals, people. We need more people in our community to work with people to help them identify with a more empowering voice, as opposed to just expecting people on their own to do it.
Kelvin Taylor, I got a question I want to ask you. Kelvin, check this out. I want to ask you in light of everything that's being talked about, because you're the voice in the room that we haven't heard from yet. Morgan Freeman had an interview with Mike Wallace. And in the interview, Morgan Freeman said that he didn't believe in Black History Month. He said he didn't believe in it because most of the people, most of the different races didn't have no history month. You don't have Jewish History Month or White History Month. So he got this concept going on. Morgan Freeman got this concept going on. And Mike Wallace asked him, he said, isn't it important for us to talk about racism? He said, what's the concept? How do we deal with racism then? Morgan Freeman said, let's stop talking about it. Let's just stop talking about it. Stop defining each other as a Black man, white man. Let's just define ourselves as Americans. So the question I'm asking you directly, Kelvin, is how should we look at ourselves as proud Americans? Like, how do Black men look at each other? Now, I'm a proud American. How should we evaluate proud Americans, or any angle of the conversation you wanted to jump in on? But I just wanted to at least hear from your voice.
Kelvin,
you still there?
I'm in the middle of shooting a video with MC Hammer right now, so
all that.
He's on.
Kelvin ain't even there. Now I forgot the egg on my face. So I'm gonna pose that question to him.
Actually, he's on mute.
how the question to the room is that proud American. How do you, as a Black man, identify with yourself as a proud American in light of everything going on? We got racism in this country, and we got what you would call the victim, the validated victim, like Tiger Toledo was talking about. It's a validated victim, and Brian. Everybody's touching. All of us agree with it, right? It's a validated victim, but we also have how do you get the mindset and the attitude as a victor or walking in victory? How do you take those 2 points and get in a disposition to say, I'm a proud American? Is that possible?
Yeah. Let me just say this. This is from Derek Grady Sr., one of the listeners. He says, if our ancestors played the blame game, most of us would not be here today. In doing what we do, we can not continue to blame others for keeping ourselves down, but yourself. I think that's an important piece for me, because when I look at Dave and I look at Tiger and I look at Rob, I look at Kelvin, I look at Brian, these are all different types of Black men. And all of them, especially the way you all have articulated yourselves, I'm proud to associate myself with you all. I'm proud to be on this call with you, to be able to have this kind of conversation. And we kind of diverge a little bit in some points. However, we still able to, have a conversation. So for me, it makes me continue to uplift my imaging and my mindset when it comes to looking at Black men. I remember when I would walk down the street, I would be suspicious of other Black peers. That's how I would be. I see this dude with this chain on, I see this dude with this black shirt on, I don't recognize his face. I'm suspicious. So again, that was my experience. And as I've grown older, I've been able to reorganize myself, or I think Tiger mentioned earlier, reprogram myself and be intentional about that. So when I look at Dave and I hear the way he speaks, it doesn't trigger me in a way, well, Dave thinks he's better than me, or Dave is better than me. Whereas years before, that would be some way that I would perceive how Dave talked. You see what I'm saying? But being on the call with Dave several weeks, I realized,
are you teasing the way that I converse?
No. I'm just saying that, what I'm saying? That would be the way that I would have perceived that years ago. And I would have said at the same time, I would have coveted, like, hey, I want to be that intelligent at the same time. You see what I'm saying? So I would have been suspicious of this brother, but yet I would have also wanted to be like this brother. You see what I'm saying? So being split, that's crazy. That's my experience. You see what I'm saying? However, now the way I see Black people, and I see especially Black men, is as support. And I want that to resonate more and more with me, because I realize in order for me to pass on a positive legacy to my children and for them to do the same thing, I need to realize that Black men are not my enemy, but that they are a support force for me, that I can link up with Black.
That's interesting, though. Hey, Ernest, what you're saying is interesting, because, all right, we're going to just go ahead and just talk, right? Because we bullshitting around this conversation, man. We stop bullshitting for a minute. Like, talk. Like, let's talk. Like,
I think it's Tiger, man. That's what's got me talking like that. No, I'm just kidding.
Brian over here texting me like some other stuff about being American. Let's talk then. Let's get it out there.
Let's chop it up. Let's go.
Let's go, man. I'm ready. Let's do it.
We ain't got no time to play no games with this. Now, we're talking about some different things. We're talking about opportunity. We're talking about the fact and the levels, or how we can get to opportunity on the next level as Black men. That's cool and everything. But I'm saying, what's the hindrance is making us feel like we belong in any type of momentum that'll be taking us to the top, as Black men. We can be, we always gonna tease you about being articulate, Dave, because you are. Like, that's cutting you out. You're the top of the food chain. Now, so I'm saying, in a collaborative way, how do we be able to support each other, move forward, right? But how do we disagree? When I don't agree with you, dude, you don't deserve my support. How do we do that so we can still move forward? Because there's some stuff you say that don't deserve my support, dude. You know what I'm saying? So how do I do that without, throwing away my Black card?
Can I interject on that one?
Always,
I would just
man.
say,
Come on, Tiger.
I would just say, I understand where you're coming from, but I disagree.
Okay, go ahead.
Just leave it like that.
Oh, I
That's
see what
it.
you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Oh,
I understand where you're coming from. I see what you're trying to say. That's not necessarily my views.
Right, my judgment. Yeah.
And keep it
Yeah, but my
pushing.
point, Tiger. My point is, my point, Tiger, is we always be talking about this concept of support, right? Or how we need to stay together, right? So if we talking about this, but if you just say that, like, man, you know what? That's not my point of view. I disagree, and I relinquish my financial support. I relinquish my marching support. I'm not marching. I'm not networking my people with this thing.
Yeah.
Is it possible? Is it possible? See, because we got to talk about that. We got to deal with that reality.
Yeah.
When I disagree with certain things you say, I got to pull all my support. Like, let's keep it real. Like, I might get some backlash from this, but just say if somebody politically come up to me and they want me to get them on board with going on the agenda, you know, like the alphabet agenda in the certain ways that I may not agree with, right?
Mm-hmm.
With me pulling my support, they might be black, but I might have to pull all of my support.
Yeah.
My question to y'all and the panel is, how do we pull that? How do we disagree? And should we feel bad about pulling our support?
Ooh, should we feel
Even,
bad?
No,
Let me jump
I
in
don't
on
believe
this.
so. I think if one, you owe your audience the level of high level of integrity, right? They're rocking with you because you have that high level of integrity and they understand your personality, they understand your brand, they understand everything where you're coming from. So if you start leading them to an agenda that doesn't benefit and it completely contradicts what you've been, what you stand for, then they don't mean anything to you at that point. So I think it comes back to the level of resources that you want to allocate towards that agenda, right? I'll give you an example. In my business, I was doing business with somebody. I pulled my resources from that organization, but I still promote that person because they have a good, they have a good system and a good business. It just doesn't work for me. So I'm gonna still support that brother and say, hey, you guys might find value in this right here. Me personally, I move differently, so I'm gonna look for different resources, different areas, but he still provides a very good business for people. So it just goes down to the resources.
When you do that though, do you do it? Brian, you was finna say something. Go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
It's on you, B.
Oh, what I was gonna do is I was gonna take the entire conversation. The Mike Wallace and Morgan Freeman piece. It's gonna shock the hell out of a lot of people. What I'm about to say is I don't believe we should celebrate Black History Month either, because the father of Black History Week, Carter G. Woodson, he did at the end of his life, and when you read his later writings, he didn't support Black History Month. And I quote, in the event that you find yourself celebrating the history of your people in 30 days, it's not worth celebrating. What I would do is, as I stated on my show a couple of weeks ago, what I would do is this. You know how we've all had milestone birthday. When I'm 25, I'm gonna do this. When I'm 30, I'm gonna do that. We have those milestone birthdays. When you're 29, you start planning that 30th birthday the day after your birthday. Or I just turned 50. People start asking me August 7th. What are you gonna do for your 50th birthday? My birthday August 6th. So maybe we should celebrate our history on a regular basis and build up to it and make that month the prom, so to speak. That is the crescendo of the annual celebration. And that's even from Carter G. Woodson. Now, so when you ask the question of how do we support, but with withdrawal, but still support, or what? How does that work? The same way it worked at the end of his life, even though it was a short-term resolution. At the end of his life, Malik El Haj Shabazz, he was starting to support brother, well, our ancestor, Dr. King, but he wasn't gonna go for that nonviolent thing. But I'm still rocking with you.
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna rock with you on that.
Right.
That I totally disagree with you. Everything else, I'm cool. So we can be cool up until you start talking about get busting your head and not fighting back. But I got your back. Once you come once you come off that march and they stitch you up, let's get this back going. So we have to stop making every single solitary idea that the other person has that person. For example, me and
That's good.
kind of disagree on what we were just talking about. But I'm not gonna say, oh man, Dave's an egghead, man. I'm not rocking with him. He's the smart guy. He's intelligent, so I know Dave has information that will benefit me tomorrow, the next day, and the next day. I just don't agree with him today. I'm not gonna write Dave off as a not good person because we disagree on this one topic. We have to stop making people that current idea.
You know, and that goes back to our conversation about what defines us.
Yeah,
You know, and see for me, that's why I don't define myself as what I think or what I make or what I do. You know what I'm saying? I define myself by what I observe. You see what I'm saying? So, because I am the observer. You see what I'm saying? So, with that being said, I don't want to, invest myself in a particular idea thing because Dave might give me some information that might change my idea about that. You know what I'm saying? Rocking with Tiger, and we building on something, and I might get a different perspective. You see what I'm saying about things where now I have to rework things. And I like what Tiger was talking about, because when you're working with an audience, especially when you're an artist, let's say, for instance, you put out some material and everybody love it. You stay away from 10 years, you come back and people they don't connect with you. Like, well, where you at with it? You know what I'm saying? Because you've been gone so long, people didn't grow with you. You see what I'm saying? So being able to grow with people and be able to say, well, I'm not going to go that way with you. That's cool. You know what I'm saying? You do you. However, I'm going to go this way. You know what I'm saying? And then, maybe somewhere along the route, we can still meet. You know what I'm saying? But if I see you in the street, it's all love. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? You just do you. That's my perspective on that. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't have to, not rock with a person because they want to roll with the, the ABC group. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that fits you. That works for you. You see what I'm saying? Do you? If I love a person, I want for them to have what they want. That's what that looks like for me. You see what I'm saying?
Hey Dave, do me a favor. Walk us through how how we should be looking at the current opportunity based on however you want to describe it. Walk us through how we should be looking at the mindset of opportunity, regardless of what the history is. How should we be thinking right now?
Good question. Good question.
Are you talking about the current opportunity for people in 2021?
Yeah, I'm just talking about the underlying theme of what I hear from you. I hear a theme in you that says, look, man, all of that stuff, don't quit making excuses. Be about this. I understand the backlash, the back history of everything that went on. I understand why people should be victims. But let's talk about, if you don't want to do 30 years in jail, don't do the crime. Let's talk about the core of where that's coming from in your mindset.
For me, it's really very simple. Pardon me. For me, it's really very simple. I think the catalyst to the change that we all seek among our community is going to be there's two foundational things for me that are really important. Number one, we need an intellectual renaissance in our community. We need to. I think all of us are old enough on this call where we remember being in high school and you had and everybody voted the class nerd in your yearbook or whatever it was. You picked the class nerd or whatever.
Most likely to succeed. Ernest was voted most likely to succeed, right?
That was me, baby.
Go ahead, Dave.
Not really.
Well, and again, I'm just saying we need information is power. We live in a data-driven age. Facebook has 3 billion or 2.6 billion members that don't pay Facebook a dime. Everybody who has a Facebook page has it for free. You know how Facebook makes their money? they sell information. When you go on there and you set up your Facebook page and you give them your name and your gender and your zip code and your date of birth, they've already got enough money that they can turn around and they can when somebody calls them up and says, I want to buy a list of 100,000 women who live in the Midwest between the ages of 20 and 40 because I'm selling diapers. Facebook can say, yeah, I got that list for you and I'll sell it to you right now for X. I mean, everything right now is based on information. And that there's a strain of anti-intellectualism generally in this country, but there's definitely a strain of anti-intellectualism in the subculture of African Americans. That's the first thing that we need to address. I would suggest that the second thing that we need to address is we need to redefine success as something other than a function of material wealth.
Yeah.
In our community, it doesn't matter what you do. At the end of the day, people will judge how successful you are based on what you're driving, what you're wearing, where you live, your zip code, what kind of clothes you wear. We need to redefine that, because what's success for you, EJ, what's success for you, Tiger, what's success for anybody else on this phone is going to be different for everybody else. And I think about when Martin Luther King used to say, if you're a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper you can be.
Yeah.
And today people are like, man, I ain't being no street sweeper. Yep. That's whack. I can't get my bag if I'm a street sweeper or whatever the lingo is today, whatever. So I think those two things, we definitely need an intellectual renaissance for us to get where we need to be as a people, but we need to redefine success as something other than just money, material possessions, and or wealth.
Yeah, Blumenbach, guy I mentioned earlier, who was the creator of that word or this concept of race, his mentor, Pator, was a part of the Royal Society and a part of other intellectual communities that were respected by the British government. And what they did from the research that they did, whether it was erroneous or not, that research that they came up with in their lectures would influence British policy. So I think, being able to create, organizations that are not based on conspiracy theories, because I know Dave mentioned that strain of intellectualism in this country. However, I think, and that's one of the reasons why I enjoy doing what we're doing, because I think it's able for us to help collaborate, or create a community of intellectuals, and being able kind of organically create an intellectual society where we can come together with these different perspectives, whether people agree with them or not, or whether we think it's right or wrong. It's about what resonates, for me at least. But I think just being able to collect intellectual perspectives so that way people can be privy to this kind of information. Because from what I know, if I was listening to this, I'd be like, damn, I didn't know that. Especially our conversation last week, Rob, when we talked about Ethereum and Bitcoin, that was information that I did not know. So being able to take these perspectives and put them together to create these organizations so that way they can influence our schools, they can influence our communities, they can influence the marketing that goes on in our communities, they can influence the television shows that Tyler Perry makes, so on and so forth, I think is very pivotal and could definitely make a change in what we're doing.
And let me just say something really quick, and it'll just take 20 seconds. I don't know what happened that in like the last generation, especially like millennials and Generation Z, they just became fascinated with the Illuminati.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, oh, Beyonce, talking about various celebrities were in the Illuminati, and people were treating it like it was this secret society that dictated your career path and your access to, whatever. The Illuminati, the original Illuminati, were a group of men who embraced science, and they had to meet in secret because when they came out and said that the earth is round, or that they said that the earth was not the center of the universe, that the sun was the center of our solar system and the earth went around the sun. Once upon a time, if you said that, people would kill you.
Yeah.
Because that was speaking out against the church. So the Illuminati was simply talking about, that wasn't some secret society of rich people that, if you go to the Illuminati, you'll get a record contract, or what the kids be talking about. The Illuminati were a bunch of people who came together that were intellectually enlightened, but they had to meet in secret and create this secret society. That's the intellectual renaissance that we need in the African American community, in my opinion.
Go ahead, Tiger.
So
Ain't
I
that clean,
will
man?
say
Let's go
this.
ahead with a heartbreak worldview. Dave, sit up, man, in your seat. Tiger Toledo, you smile, so that means we'll come back to you after Dave do the worldview, or
right, cool.
you all can jump in on the worldview. Worldview is an open conversation. But Dave, kick us off, man, with the worldview, man. What you got?
I'm going to the islands this week. Like I said, I've been to all U.S. territories, with the exception of Guam. So I'm going to just concentrate really quickly on the United States Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and Hawaii. If you have the opportunity to get to any of these places, do yourself a favor and visit one of these islands. I will tell people, I think we discussed this, I don't remember if it was last week or in a previous week. A lot of people think that Hawaii is really, really expensive, to travel there, and it's not. You can get a round trip plane ticket from Chicago to Hawaii, direct or with a layover, for between, depending upon when you find it, you can get a round trip airfare ticket for between $600 and $800. In the last 3 months during the pandemic, my wife found round trip airfare from Chicago to Hawaii for $450. So your airfare is not expensive to get there. I would suggest, because of the length of time that it takes for you to fly there, it's 8 hours direct, and because they have a 5-hour time zone difference, that you stay there for at least 4 days, just so you can make the time zone change and you can do some things to enjoy yourself. But again, as far as food, as far as hotel, anything else, money that you will spend in Hawaii, it's about the same as staying in downtown Chicago or in any major city staying in downtown. The prices are comparable.
Dave, bring us back some receipts, man. We need receipts, man.
Now, to your point, where the price of Hawaii gets expensive, or any island for that matter, if you go to Hawaii and tell yourself, oh, I'm staying at an Airbnb so I can save some money on the hotel fare, and you go grocery shopping locally, you're going to spend more money because everything has to get flown into the island, right? So that price is passed on. So from that perspective, it can be more expensive. But again, it's not something that's not insurmountable. San Juan, Puerto Rico, Vieques, Rincon in the southern part of Puerto Rico, all three of those cities I highly, highly recommend. And of the U.S. Virgin Islands, I would definitely recommend St. Thomas. Of the three, you got St. Thomas, St. Croix, and St. John. St. John is a smaller, more private island with a lot of single family dwellings. So because it's a smaller island, it's more expensive because it's a smaller island and it's less capacity for visitors. But of those three locales, I would rank Hawaii. It's a tie between St. Thomas and Puerto Rico, man. So Tiger, you shaking your head like you know what I'm talking about, brother.
No, I think this segment is fantastic. I think this segment, no, seriously, I've never heard a show to like segment the show and then talk about world travel like that. I think that's awesome, dude. I think it's awesome.
Hey, Ernest, man. I paid Tiger to come on the show, man. Just so
I know, man. I can tell, man. I looked at the bank account and saw $1,000 was missing, man.
Nah, this is all in love, man. No, you know why I'm enjoying the show thoroughly, by the way. Because people are multi-dimensional, man. Like, yeah. You know what I mean? It's not just one size fit all with us.
True,
right?
story.
It's like we have so many layers and one thing I will say is this, right? It's like one thing I learned from Hitler, to put Hitler out there, right? When he wanted to find out what was happening in the homes of the people in Germany, he employed the teachers at the school, right? And told the teachers, I want you to give lollipops to these kids. And while you're giving them lollipops, I want you to ask them, what was the conversation they were having over the weekend? And the kids, of course, wanting the lollipop, would be like, oh yeah, my mama was talking about how they hated Hitler and he needs to die. That word would get back to Hitler and his constituents, and they would go to the household and kill the parents. So I say that to say this. Sometimes we have to meet our audience where they are, where they live. Our youth right now look for entertainment. This smartphone is full of media, right?
Yeah.
Media just has a hold on everything. They might hate school because they're forced to go to school, but guess what? During school, before school, after school, they're listening to music, they're watching TikTok, they're doing all of this. If we can incorporate that educate, the edutainment, I want to call it, right?
Yeah.
Edutainment into those media channels, we can seep in that education, that financial literacy, all of that, the self-awareness, the confidence and everything like that, and meet them where they are, just like the lollipop kids.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So, Dave, you were ranking those islands. I know you said Hawaii's number one. Where were you putting the other ones? Where were you ranking the other ones?
It's really hard between St. Thomas and Puerto Rico. If you're looking for a cultural experience, Puerto Rico.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. Yeah.
If you're looking for some place where you can just really just lay back, have a 3, 4, 5-star experience, and really do some things that you wouldn't ordinarily get to do, I would say St. Thomas.
Okay.
I would agree. I've been to St. Thomas. I would totally agree. I've been to St. Thomas, but I'm married now, so it's like I cannot really give you why I really like St. Thomas where I used to. So
This guy.
But I agree with the assessment about St. Thomas. I think St. Thomas is really beautiful. But see, I was in the military.
And real quick, what makes St. Thomas really unique? I mean, you can kind of do this in Hawaii. It's a little bit more expensive, but the cool thing about St. Thomas, and again, all of these islands that I mentioned, you don't need a passport. Let me mention that also for our listeners. So if you don't have a passport, you can travel to any of these 5 islands. But the cool thing about the U.S. Virgin Islands is that for a little bit of nothing, you can go visit St. Thomas and jump on a catamaran and go over to St. Croix and jump on a catamaran and go over to St. John. So if you're down there for a few days and you got a few extra coins in your pocket, you can see all 3 in 1 week. So again, that's another, like I said, one of the most beautiful places. The only place in the Caribbean that's more beautiful than any of the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico is St. Lucia, but we'll talk about that on another edition.
I love it. Thank you, brother, for that wonderful delineation of your islands tour. I appreciate it. Hey, bring me back some conch fish, though, man. That's all I got to say. Please do. I love that fish, man. That's amazing. Even though I'm fasting. But
Anyway, with that being said, man, so can we say, I was thinking about a concept, right? And the concept was, I love documentaries. I watch lion documentaries, and you think about a lion, right? The lion is a fascinating animal, right? Think about the lion. I think me and Brian might have been talking about this a few days ago. We've been talking about so much. I forgot what we started and finished, Brian. But think about a concept. Lions, attitude. That's how I think about lions. The reason why I say that, lions are not the strongest in the jungle. You got elephants, rhinos, hippos. You got some animals that's pound for pound stronger than a lion, right? And then they're not the fastest. They got to really strategically look at their approach. And then, they're not the smartest. They smart, but they're not the smartest, right? But at the end of the day, all right, Dave, I got you. But at the end of the day, what make them the king of the jungle? It's their attitude. They look at an elephant and they think one thing and one thing only: lunch. You lunch. Other animals don't look at lions and think of lunch. Lions look at everything they look at as lunch. So what makes them the king of the jungle is their inherent ability to say, hey, everything I look at is lunch, right?
Apex
So-
predator.
Huh?
Mhm.
Apex predator.
Yep.
So my point is, do you blame the white man for looking at the world as lunch?
Mm.
Yeah. Because yeah.
I'm
Manifest
asking you.
destiny. I mean, and again, I say that with a stank on that attitude, brother. You know what I'm saying? Because the fact of the matter is that
You lunch.
the idea is, see, for me, the story about Cain and Abel is not about a brother who gives a better sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? It was actually a warning story. You know what I'm saying? Given by the Mesopotamians many thousands of years ago about this group of people who wanted everything to be done their way. You know what I'm saying? And if you didn't do it their way, you became lunch. You see what I'm saying? That, for me, that's a virus. You know what I'm saying? That's viral thinking. Yeah, that is, if people, culture, man, culture is beautiful. Just even what Dave talked about, if you want a cultural experience, go to Puerto Rico, right? Because you're going to get architecture, you're going to get history, you're going to find out about the natives and how far back they know their history, thousands of years, right? We don't, we didn't wipe out the natives here. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, for another group, for a group to think that we're superior and we get to use mummies as fuel for railroads, how do you get to take people's culture and their ancestors and take their bodies, their artifacts, and then use it for fuel? Like, how, what gives you the right to say that? You see what I'm saying? You're not so what I'm saying is no, I don't agree with that. I don't agree. They're not, lions do not have a neocortex. You see what I'm saying? They're not, homo sapiens. You see what I'm saying? They can't contemplate what they're doing. Human beings can. You see what I'm saying? This version of Caucasians can, well, not Caucasian, but so-called white people, they can. And so therefore, for them to sit back and contemplate what they're doing and then to justify what they're doing, I definitely disagree with.
Why would you disagree with the fact that they have not shown? Go ahead. Who is that, Dave?
No, I was just gonna say really quickly, it is unrealistic for any group of people to expect another group of people to deconstruct a power system that maintains their superiority. That might not be fair. That might not be consistent with Judeo-Christian values. There are a lot of contradictions in that, but no one is going to voluntarily deconstruct a power system that perpetuates their supremacy. When black people in Egypt, you only have to go in human history a few hundred years, and Egypt had the best. Every most developed country went to Egypt to attend their schools and universities. We remember Greece as the country that that Reason and Socrates but they went to Egypt and studied.
True story. Heck yeah.
Egypt maintained their superiority until they couldn't. So again, it just so happens that we find ourselves in the era where the Caucasian race globally is superior or is predominant. But again, you go back to the United States this century, you go back 1 or 2 centuries ago, it was the UK, it was Britain, and you go back a couple of hundred years, or not even a couple of hundred years before that, and it was China. So this is nothing new, that we just happen to find ourselves in a cycle where European Americans and we live in a Eurocentric world right now, and that's just the season that we happen to find ourselves in. But again, it would be unrealistic of us to expect Europeans to say, yeah, we'll share the power and the money. That sounds great to the people who don't have the power and the money, but that's unrealistic.
Heartbreak, Dave, 8:30. Plug yourself real quick.
Hey, man, I'm rolling up my sleeves, man. What you doing, man? I'm ready. What you doing, bro?
And this guy, you know what I'm saying? This guy, he always strategically do this. He want to make these big, heavy points. Now he didn't got a strategy. Now I got to get on hard.
Yeah, I got to get off.
At 8:30, right?
But I'm gonna let
He
you
got a strategy. Get his last little word off. Go ahead, plug yourself, Dave, and your show on Fridays and everything. Plug yourself.
Yeah, Brian Tiger Toledo, thank you for joining us tonight. I had a hard stop this evening at 8:30. But again, for those of you who, if you like me, if you don't like me, if you agree, if you disagree, join me on Seton Speaks. That's my blog. I post a lot of content there, a lot of great interviews, a lot of insightful things that I write about. I write about technology, religion, politics, predominantly. Would love to, you just subscribe to Seton Speaks. You can follow me on Twitter, David A. Seton on Twitter. And then on Friday nights from 9 p.m. to midnight Central Standard Time, you can hear me on WVON 1690 AM on the Buchanan and Seton Show. So those are my mediums, and I invite you to engage me on any of those mediums. I'd be happy to have you.
And he's on YouTube.
Yes, on YouTube. All right, gentlemen, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for your word of the day,
All right, bro.
Dave, man. Myopic.
Yeah, myopic, baby.
You know what I'm saying? Thank you for your word,
Dave
man.
right there.
Yeah.
Is that Dave right there? Like a
What's that?
checkerboard kind of deal?
You know what? I'm not sure. What's that on Twitter?
Yeah,
I think that is, bro. David A. Seton, right?
yeah.
Yep, that's him. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Dave jumped out of here. You know what I'm saying? Before, as I was rolling up my sleeves, man. And I appreciated the point. I mean, because I do understand where he's coming from, but I still don't agree with that those people in power get to, devour and use up all of the resources the way that they see fit. You know what I'm saying? And not really reflect on the impact that it's making on other people. Because especially when he referred to the Egyptian culture, one of the particular principles that they practice, not obviously all of them, but the principles of Ma'at. You know what I'm saying? The 42, that everything needs to be imbalanced. You see what I'm saying? When we look at their spread of their empire over to the natives here in the United States, and we can see their influence because they built mountains, right? Which is similar to the pyramids, that these people operated in a sense where they treated the earth as if it was sacred. These people don't operate with treating the earth as if it's sacred. They feel like they can take and use anything the way that they choose to use anything. And I don't agree. I just don't agree with that. But I do agree with
you. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I'm right in line with you, because when he used the other cultures, like when they used to say the sun never sets on the United Kingdom and that type of thing, the difference in when people that look like us control the world and when other people control the world, the people who are in power now, that I think Dave left out, was this. When other people control the world, they didn't destroy who you were to control the world. See, it's easy to say, hey, you're right. Everything that goes up, every bird that flies high will touch the ground eventually. Eagles will land. You know what I mean? Right. So you're right. There are ebbs and flow in regards to power. But the Chinese, when the Chinese ran the world, they didn't destroy everything. When the Africans ran the world, and people, as he stated, as Dave himself stated, people left Greece, people left Italy, people left throughout the entire Mediterranean, went down there and learned and went back and taught. They didn't, when the people who chose to call themselves white, when they just, it is a 180. What you cannot put your finger on any map in any place on this globe and say, those people who consider them white were here and look how much better it is. Right. So in regards to the ebbs and flow of power, I totally agree with him. In regards to relinquishing power, no one is asking people to relinquish power, but if all you have to do is look at our continent. The Kente cloth, the story of the Kente cloth, cannot think of the name of this tribe. They were a warrior class in Northwest Africa. The Ashanti. I was going to kill myself. The Ashanti took on a tribe of weavers. They couldn't really communicate, but they asked them to make them a tapestry. To make a long story short, and short story shorter, that's how we have Kente cloth now. So they took over a tribe. They made them a part of their tribe, and they said, okay, y'all gonna still be who y'all are. Y'all some cloth weavers. Make this for us. And look at that. We took over a tribe. They became a part of us. We put them to work. And now what they created out of that war was a cloth that is identifiable as us throughout the globe. When you see that cloth, you think of people that look like us, no matter if you're from Africa, South America, or the United States of America.
Yeah.
So you can't do that same thing when you dominate somebody and strip them of everything and beat them down. As my mom would say, beat you down to buck pride. Because now you demoralized me, you took away my humanity, and now we have a problem. So that's why I would disagree with Dave. On the surface, I agree. Ain't nobody giving up no power, because the Ashanti, if they had it their way, the Ashanti would still be running the world. But simultaneously, as Ernest mentioned, there are caves in Southern Illinois that have documentation that people from what's my man named Mansa Musa was sending people over here and kicking it and hanging out. I think Ernest mentioned Maze last week, and you can see where people interacted without this total destruction of a people. So that's why I would disagree with you.
Trying to do, man? You trying to be on another show at the same time, Rob?
Nah, man, I'm doing what I do, man. You know, I ain't doing nothing deep. You know what I'm saying? Hey, check this out, though, man. I got something I want to check this out. I wanted to play something.
Oh, see, it's on now.
Hey, check this out, though. This my man Tiger Toledo, man, was riding.
Right.
Y'all hear that? Tiger Toledo, I was trying to figure out what he was trying to say, man. You know what I mean? See, this is another part of the black culture right here. It's something that tap into us and we don't know what it is.
Exactly.
Now, we were talking all this deep stuff, right? And I put one song on and all of our disposition changed. And we just like, yeah, you see how quick that is?
We are a rhythmic
figure out
people,
what that
man.
is, how to apply that. Go ahead, Tiger.
I always say this, man, is that we are a rhythmic people. You know, we love drums. We love it. It does something for us, man. Put that in a message. Put your message in that rhythm, and I think you can reach anybody at a level where it won't even make any sense. It won't even make any sense.
Hey, you know what? Hey, Tiger, let me tell you this. Like every time we do, whether it's a podcast or radio, think about this. Like something in me always gotta have this out of bounds rhythm at the beginning, right? I want to be like, like back on Jaw Jack, we be like, man, let's get ready to rumble. Dude, I ain't be trying to be extra. It's something in me that's pulling that out in me. That when we come talking to each other, it's supposed to be like this rhythm. It's supposed to be this rhythm of community, rhythm of understanding, rhythm of camaraderie. It's supposed to be a rhythm. It don't necessarily, we ain't got to sing, we ain't got to rap, but it's supposed to be like, man, we already connected unconditionally to know that, man, dude, if I be like, man, who don't like getting intro? Like, man, Brooklyn in the house. Who don't
Just like when you guys started your intro earlier, it started off with Ludacris. With that music, music drives us in.
Yeah, it drives us in.
And then once you get in, then you be like, okay, what's this about?
Right. So that's the point. That's the point we're making. So as I knew, we talking like, and sometimes like our attention span is wired in a way where we lose connection sometimes without the rhythm being in play.
Yeah.
If we take the rhythm out, we still trying to, make people dissect this old heavy, deep intellectual pattern of things that's going on without no rhythm. Like, man, we be like, our listening span is limited.
Yeah, they say the attention span of a goldfish is 8 seconds. The attention span of a human being now is 7 seconds. So we have less of an attention span than a damn goldfish. Meaning the goldfish could be in that small little, little thing. What do you call it? A little aquarium.
Fishbowl.
So by the time he swims all the way around, it'll take about 8 seconds. But then once he gets to that very beginning again, it looks like a brand new aquarium again.
Mm.
So that is the time, attention span of a human being right now. So that's why when they'll sit through a program like this, and then while we're talking, they're on their phone like this.
Right.
And then they jump off their phone and then they're back into the program. Then they're back on their phone. On
Yeah.
a different social. It's very short. We have a very small amount of time to capture their attention. That's why we have to meet them where they're at.
Talk
Yeah,
about
and
your book real quick. Go ahead, B.
I was just going to say that, I also heard that we process more information in a week than our ancestors did their entire lives. So just the data that we're coming across, you know what I'm saying? And just the bandwidth that our brains have the capacity, to process any given week or any given day. So that's
Go ahead,
also.
Brian. What are you finna say? I'm sorry, Ernest. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you did. You meant to cut me off, man.
Yeah, I did. I did. I kind of did.
You ain't got to lie, bro. You ain't got to lie, man. It's all good.
I apologize, though. Go ahead, Brian.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with Ernest in regards to the amount of information we process. That was kind of actually he articulated it better than I was saying to Dave. That's all I was saying to Dave. Yeah, we have all this information at our fingertips. We have a boatload of information at our fingertips. But back then, you could only go from 79th to 83rd. You could only go from Ashland to Halsted. So all that information, when Ernest started a business, everybody in that area knew Ernest was on that business. But when we move up to Evanston, and we move out to Harvey, and we move out to Bellwood, now we have to inculcate the west side information, the north side information, the south side information, the south suburb information, the west suburb information. So it looks as if we are not respecting what we're getting, but it's just, no, we're not. It's not that we're not respecting it. It's just like Tiger said. Oh, I'm in here. Tiger said some good stuff. Okay. Yeah. And but you know what? Rob is saying some good stuff over here. And then Ernest is saying some good stuff over here. So it's all coming at us. It's just like the best example I could give it at is, I don't know how old you are, Tiger. We're close to 50 and older.
Yeah, me too.
But at one, okay, great. Perfect example. Then perfect way for me to articulate this. At one point in our lives, the news ended at 10:30. And you thought you had all the news you needed. But I'm sitting on the north side of Chicago. I ain't hear about the dude who got shot in the mountain. I ain't hear about the dude who got shot on 63rd and National. I definitely didn't hear about the dude who got shot on Pulaski in Madison. But now we have 24-hour news, and it makes it look as if the violence is more intense. Now all they're doing is telling us about that dude in Manor.
Right.
We know about that dude on Ashland. We know about the dude on the west side. So, oh my God, it's worse. No, it's not worse. It's the same thing. Now you just know. You just know how they, like, I remember the very first time I was in 8th grade. I remember it was one of those, remember where they used to have the movie of the week on Channel 7. And it was a child molester movie. I had never heard molestation before that movie. So me and my buddies at school laughing about child molestation. Oh, you getting molested. You getting molested. But I had never heard that word. It wasn't that that word didn't exist. It was just brought to me, and I didn't realize how serious it was until 2 years later. Richard Benzel was molesting guys at Western House Vocational High School, and his friend was molesting people my sophomore year in high school at Collins.
Whoa.
That's when I realized how serious it was. It ain't and look, here's the thing. That was 1985. So he was molesting people in 84, 83, 82, and 81, but it was blind to me. And I think that's what we get caught up in this thing with information. And you should.
That's a good point, bro.
But how can I didn't hear you.
No, that's a good point. Good point. Yeah, we're just more aware. We're more aware of what's happening.
Well, I think it comes back to like, if let's just say you were to buy a new car and you didn't see a red Maserati before, but as soon as you buy that red Maserati, now there's a red Maserati every other block.
True story.
Thank you.
True story. I've definitely had that experience.
Mhm.
Not with
Yes,
Maserati.
I had that.
But,
No, yeah, definitely not with no Maserati. It was a Chevy Impala.
With a Ford Escort. Like,
right. You know.
It was a great
Yeah,
Chevy
this
Impala.
Escort.
I think that's where we get jacked up. Like me being a criminal justice major, I know the most people in the history of Chicago were killed in 1972. Just happened to be 972 people.
Yep.
The number two year is 1993,
Come on, bro.
917 people. The
Come on,
year
bro.
before was the third, and the year before that was the fourth. But if you ask the average person in Chicago, oh my God, these niggas crazy.
Yeah.
But these cats crazy. So
It's true.
man, it ain't like it used to be, but it's actually better. But because you continue to get fed this information,
Yeah.
and
There you go.
I'm gonna shut up after this. To salute Tiger on the inculcation of music and academia in his home state, in his hometown of New York, not the borough. Well, it might have even been in the borough of Brooklyn.
Yeah.
They did a test. They gave that standardized test that we all take at the end of the school year. All the kids failed. They put it to music. Those same kids passed that test.
Get out of here.
So you have to be able to adjust to the person.
Man,
When I used to do
where that
sports
study at,
show,
Brian? Where that study at? What's that study?
I get it for you today. I get it for you before
That's hot. That's hot.
But
That's hot.
I always, when I used to do my sports show, I used to always say, good coaches don't coach their system, they coach the people. Because you know what? Ernest might have the greatest hands in the world, but Ernest ain't fast as Willie Gault. Ernest ain't fat, but you know what? He can kill the middle of the field. So Ernest is gonna give me every first down I need, because he can get me 8, 10, 12 yards anytime he wants. Rob might be super fast, but his hands are not as good as Ernest. So only time you're gonna see Rob on the field is when we need Ernest to catch the ball in the middle of the field. Because Rob, you just run that 9 route, run as fast as you can. And if they triple cover Ernest, then we're gonna throw it to you. Just catch it then, Rob. We don't need you to catch the 9, we don't catch the button. We need you to catch that skinny post right at the sideline. This is why Bill Belichick destroys people, not because he's the smartest dude in the world. He know Ernest is not beating Brian deep, period. But you know what? Brian is lazy, and Brian don't like the middle of the field. So Ernest is awesome in the middle of the field. Anytime we see Brian sticking Ernest is going to adjust that route, and you can go to the middle of the field because that's where Brian does not want to be. I transfer that to the classroom. The same Brian. I think I'm a relatively intelligent cat. I only wanted to learn history until Ethel Adams taught me practical application. She was like, sir, you know all this ties in. You like history. You can't like history without math. What do you mean? It ain't got nothing. She said, okay, this happened on this day. This happened on this day. What led to that? Oh, that's 1492. That's the 1492. That was the year Columbus got here. The only reason you knew that is because you did it. You added it up. So that's how math ties into history. Science. You put this man and this man and this man together, and you get what? That's Andrew Jackson destroying the Indians, because that was a science project. And then I was like, okay, what about English? She said, you need to be able to articulate yourself so people can understand you, or write it down. Math, science, English, history, they are all the same thing. Now I take off. Miss Adams knew how to touch me. Right. And she knew how to touch James Barnes, my buddy. She knew how to touch Marcus Stewart. We have to, and they even tell you that, what is it called? Lecture style teaching only touches 20% of the children. So why are we still lecturing the kids?
Right, right.
True story. Because I'm a hands-on learner. I need to participate. You know what I'm saying? For me to get information, to retain information. So you're right. And the more we know about that, I wish we could have talked about, or had Dr. Abraham, or we could have talked about the kid that, in Baltimore, where he was, I think, almost in the top 50 percentile of the class. But he had a .13 GPA, and had only passed 3 classes in the past 4 years.
Mm.
You know, Dr. Abraham with Seaton, they had a great conversation about that, man. Because we're saying who's to blame? Who's to blame? Who's to blame? The parents are to blame. The kids to blame. You know what I'm saying? And Dr. Abraham, as a principal, said, no, it's the school's fault. You know, if you're paying teachers and you know, these administrators to do this kind of work, then it is their responsibility to make sure these kids are educated. You don't go to a doctor, you know, and pay the doctor, and then the person dies, and then blame it on the person. You know what I'm saying? You know, all of these other particular, you know, scenarios where we pay people to expect the job to be done. The same thing with these teachers, man. And for teachers and administrators in schools, and again, this goes back to our question about what Dave was answering. What do we need to happen in our community at Intellectual Renaissance? We need people like Dr. Abraham to be a part of organizations that influence school policy and not let our legislatures be the primary voices for these particular how schools are going to operate in our communities. You know, it can't operate that way. We need people with the experience, people with the passion that care about our children to actually influence the way our children and know how our children actually learn to be able to influence policy when it comes to the way the dollars are spent in our school and the way time and every second is spent in our schools as well.
Mm.
Tiger Toledo, man. Hey, go ahead, man. Give us a plug of what you got going on, man. I heard you wrote a book, man. Go ahead, break it all down.
Oh yeah. Let me put the book up here, man. Three-time best-selling author Tiger Toledo. I have this on Amazon right now. Rise of the Smart Notary. You can pick that up at Amazon.com. I'm working on the second installment now, and then I'm trying to roll out at least 4 books within this year. So I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself to complete those. But you know, everybody can get in contact with me. Just Google me, and then, you know, Tiger Toledo, and I should pop up on. I'm trying to.
Yeah, I got you, brother. I see you.
Yeah, appreciate you, man.
Hey, Tiger.
Yes, sir.
What inspired? What made you say I want to write a book?
My teachers that failed me. My teachers that failed me when I was in 3rd grade. They failed me because my English was poor. My, you know, according to them, you know, grammatically I was challenged, you know, and you know, I don't know if you guys ever been left back before, but that is very embarrassing.
If you have been what?
It's if you ever been left back in school before.
Oh yeah, 4th grade, man. I failed 4th grade.
Yeah, it's very embarrassing it's traumatizing to a little kid. You know, I'm a pretty tall guy, so like for me to repeat 3rd grade, I'm like the tallest kid in 3rd grade now, right? All of my classmates went to the next grade. They're looking at me and they're like, dude, what happened to you? You supposed to be with us. So it kind of did something to me psychologically, right? And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna show to these teachers one day that you know, I am smarter than what they say that I am. So I wind up releasing a book really to kick dirt on them. And then it just happens to be a best-selling book from that. Because I put my
Hey, look, man, I just placed the order, man. They say it's supposed to be here Tuesday.
Oh,
taking all day to put the thing in the mail, man.
Hey, that's Amazon. That's not me, baby.
Hey, I hate to do this on you guys. So, hey, Tiger, I would really like to interview you on my show.
Oh, appreciate that, man.
Oh, man, you come on, play cousin. You good, bro? What you talking about, man?
Okay. The reason I want to is because I'm trying to do a living history of people in our community. Listen to your story. I'm a dude who got left back, and now I'm a 4-time champion at what I do.
Yeah.
At the very thing I was not supposed to be good at, I've excelled 4 times. So I've done something that literary geniuses can't. They can't say, "Hey, I'm the most important dude in the world in regards to this." You ain't done what I've done.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do what is called a living history of the people in our community.
I'd be honored, brother.
Man, it's yours. Just we can hook up after this.
Say less, man.
Now check this out. Now, Brian, it's your turn. Now, plug what you got going on right now, Brian.
I do a show called The End of the Bench. It's about conversation. I used to do sports because that was my passion at one point in my life. And it walked me down this other road. My people, hip hop, and sports are my passions. Sports is no longer my passion at all. I actually woke up this morning and turned on ESPN and I couldn't watch it 30 seconds.
Wow.
So I have transitioned into my people. I'm always love hip hop music because hip hop music shaped me to who I am today. Chuck D started talking in 1986, and other people's like, "Whoa, what's this? Louder Than the Bomb." And I knew exactly what he was. Black people we talk louder, we dress louder, our swag is louder. And he said, "I'm louder than a bomb."
Yeah.
And I got it.
Yeah.
So I started 5 years ago with this podcast, The End of the Bench Sports. I elevated to working with this network brought on by this network called X Squad Radio. Me and three of my partners off of X Squad Radio, we felt that it was time to transition to something else. So 18 months ago, 19 months now ago, as a matter of fact, 19 months ago today, well, yesterday, because it was on my birthday, August 6, 2019, we created Built for This Network. And I found myself talking about our community incorporated into sports, like the thing I did with Bill Belichick. I'm giving you the food that you really want, but I'm pouring the medicine in there. But I found myself saying it's more medicine than food now. So I created a second show called Build and Destroy, building up our community while destroying the lies and propaganda that are attached to our community. And that was 18 months ago. And now I'm like, and shout out to the homie Joe Williams. He's my co-host. Well, he was my co-host on the End of the Bench Sports. And Rob actually described me to a T. I'm a Leo. I am the loudest dude. And I have to take myself back because I will attack an elephant. So, but it's not, I'm attacking you. It's just who I am. Mm-hmm. It's the way I present myself. I'm loud. I come at you. I leap at you, and people will think, "Oh, he don't like me," or "He's angry with me." But no, that's just how I present myself. So we would talk. The question was, and this is what made me shut down my sports shows on Tuesday. I said, I can't do this no more. The homie Joe I asked the homie Joe. I said, "Hey, will the NFL ever get their racial situation correct?" And Joe was like, "No, because of this." And I was like, "Well, you can't use that." I started defending the NFL. He was like, "Look at the Bears. They ain't had a black quarterback." I said, "Nah, they had Cordell Stewart and Henry Burris." "Oh, I ain't know that." He said, "What about in the past?" And I was like, "Well, before it was cool to have a black quarterback, they had Vince Evans, so you can't put that on them." He was like, well, this. And I said, "Yeah, I agree with that." So I asked him, I said, "So why you watching?" And he did he was like, and when I asked him that question, I subconsciously asked myself that question. Why are you watching? Because I've been beating the drum of, man, Mark Jackson, you crazy. I'm not finna sit here and beg the NBA for a job, dude. My question was, Mark Jackson, do you want to be a coach or do you want to coach in the NBA? Because if you want to be a coach, it's an HBCU. And Tiger, Robert, and Ernest, if Mark Jackson walked into our living rooms and said, "I want your son to come to Grambling," we would pack that dude's stuff and say, "Graduation day, I'll drive you down there." Yeah. Just because it's Mark Jackson. So again, that's uplifting our community. It was more important to me to uplift our community than it was to talk about sports, because at this point, sports, hey, and nobody Rob know this, but nobody who's ever tuned into my show knows this. I haven't watched a football game in 7 years. And I've been hosting a sports show for 5. And it ain't nobody living or dead.
You only got 2 views.
What's that?
That's why you only got 2 views.
I've had people call me who host other shows, and I've tearing them up. And so I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
Tell everybody about your new agreement, your handshaking agreement, man. made.
Oh, that's why me, my man Rob Orr, and his homeboy TC, and 168 hours from now, well, not even 168, about 163 hours from now, we are gonna do this show called it's gonna be the End of the Bench / Jawjacking, where black men who are extremely aggressive, who are extremely passionate, are gonna yell and scream at each other with the best of intentions.
Oh, that's love.
Oh, I like that.
That's love. That's love.
Hey, Ernest.
But one thing, Rob.
Go ahead.
But I'm still going to continue my mission of telling our stories. I'm going to talk about news. I'm going to talk about how it impacts us. And I want to talk to guys like you. I want to talk to seniors, because my personal opinion, Ernest and Rob know this, I personally feel we lose 150 years of history every time somebody's 70 years and older. Because we lose their life story, and we lose the life story that they got from their parents. So just imagine, Tiger, I don't know if you have any kids, but
3.
You got 3 kids. And that mean more than likely one day you're gonna have grandkids. You're gonna transition. Your grandkids, your sons and daughters can take your grandkids to YouTube and say, look at your grandfather. That's his story.
Indeed.
Which will uplift and inspire. I want Ernest to be on there. I want Rob to be on. I don't care. I got a homeboy.
He ain't invited me though. He been knowing me what 3 weeks. He ain't invited me. He meet Tiger 2 hours. He like, oh, I need you on there immediately, man. I need you. Your story more important than Ernest. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, don't do me like that, man.
But yeah, I want Ernest.
Don't do me like that, man. In public, man. Don't do me like that.
But I want to talk. Everybody who willing to talk.
He back to being deep now. Now he listening to that. He back to being deep. I want everybody. Like, he didn't even address what you said. You didn't invite me. I'm not
no date yet. Still ain't no date.
Look. I only knew Ernest 20 minutes, and I had him on my show the next week.
He did, though. He did. No lie. That ain't. Yeah, you right, bro.
No, that's what's up.
Yeah, you right.
But
but check this out, though.
Go ahead, Rob.
Like, let me just piggyback now. You know, since you introduced it, like that, let me piggyback. Because you invited Tiger Toledo to the show. This is who I was talking about coming on the show next week, Tiger Toledo.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
He could come to the show, but I want him to be on the Tuesday show or the Saturday show so I can introduce him to the world. Because guess what?
Gotcha.
If Tiger Toledo comes on either one of those shows and 2 people buy books, they're going to enjoy those 2 books. And they're going to buy 6 books. Oh, he got 3 more books?
See, hey, but you see how many layers this got going on? And that's why we got to be grown enough to be able to make sure everybody understand what we're doing with this collective perspective idea.
Yeah,
this collective perspective idea is about networking. It's about networking with people rubbing elbows and like Brian doing with Tiger Toledo right now, grabbing hold, making sure my people know your people and your people know my people. That's what we doing.
True story.
We can't miss that.
Yeah, collecting these perspectives.
We can't miss that.
Yeah.
We can't miss that. And we talking smack, but at the end of the day, they be like, oh man, these ain't professional. This ain't no professional. This is very professional to me.
Yeah, it is.
Very professional.
And that's why I love this, man, because there's somebody that's gonna look at, Rob is like Darth Vader, right? Let's just say, let's just use it on some character thing.
Darth Vader.
Rob is Darth Vader, Brian is, LeBron James. Ernest is,
I'm Denzel. I'm Denzel, bro.
Okay, yeah. Ernest is Denzel, and I'm whoever, right? But there's these characters, these multitude and multi-layered characters that everybody, there's got to be a character for somebody, right?
Yeah,
that's
and
right.
then they're going to be like, I gravitate more towards Rob versus Tiger. I hear what Tiger's saying, but I rock with Rob. That's my dude right there. Versus Ernest. And so that is why a platform like this is so needed. I would say, like, humbly interjecting is saying, I would still throw in a little bit of sports in there, throwing that music in there, because we have to be very aware of that. Our culture loves these things. We love them.
Yeah.
We love basketball. Don't try to strip me of basketball. Come on. I love basketball, right? I love football.
You know what?
Just throw it in there a little bit once in a while, and and then I'll grab it,
Right. That's
groove
right.
with everything
I'm gonna
else.
take your advice, but at this point, I had that much interest in it
Yeah.
because when you're doing, I think they're doing it wrong. I know they're doing it wrong, and if I can't focus on it enough to be speaking about it.
No, you just got to
this,
put your swag to it, bro. That's it. If this book right here, if
it's-
I made this book according to what the notary publics in the world would want, it would be dry, it would be bland, it would suck. But because I talk the way I talk and say things the way I say things, more of our people, because 90% of the people that bought my book were our people, that it resonated with them. You're like, man, he's like one of us. And then they go and tell a friend, and went and tell a friend, and told another friend.
Yeah.
But what's going to have to happen is Rob and TC gonna have to bring up the sports because on my show I'm just burned
I
out.
hear you.
Those two.
Oh,
Tuesday and
that's all
Saturday,
good. That's all good. All we was talking
Burn.
about, all I was talking about was the collaboration of handshaking agreement of collaborating. And I get it. You know, what's funny is I get it, man, but it don't matter. The titles and all that don't matter. What matters is that we're intertwined in our audience. That's the collective perspective. That's the concept of collective perspective. We're intertwined in our audiences and our fan bases, or whatever you want to call them, to some intellectual brothers,
supporters.
community brothers, some, you know what I'm saying, some strong brothers. Whatever category you want to fall under, we're going to network. You know what I'm saying? Genuine, heart, follow through, keep a commitment. You know what I mean? So that's all, man. We ain't caught up on those titles like, hey, man, we gonna do the sports show, man. Y'all gonna do sports, man. I ain't gonna do nothing. Like, no, we just said we keep it available because we do it too many sports analogies. That's just like me talking, right? I'm talking and I give you a lion analogy. Then everybody started identifying. I don't know how many people watch lion documentaries or hyena documentaries. All I know is that white people around me are lions and hyenas. They remind me of both because, like, once they attitude, like, is like, I'm gonna be in charge. But then the hyena behavior is like, when they numbers is right, I don't know what sound that is, the golden sound that goes on with hyenas. Once they got their numbers right, when they know they finna win, they woot, 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 woot. That mean we finna win.
Mm-hmm.
We finna chase this dude up off this hunt. We finna win. We ain't backing up no more. I don't know what number that is in their own mind that make them know that number. Like, it's 25. Like, 10 ain't enough. 10 hyenas can't take a male lion down, right?
How many?
One male lion can run off 10 hyenas.
Well, no, did you see the documentary about World's People and these brothers? They were from a tribe in Kenya. I can't remember the exact name, but they would 3-4 deep walk together towards a pride of lions.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they would scare them lions off. You know what I'm saying? Because of the image that they presented. You know.
Why, Ernest?
Because of the image. It was like the size scared the lions.
The word we used earlier was attitude.
Yeah. It was the confidence.
Pointing your attitude. They get in a straight line. They come with no fidgety behavior. I know exactly the video you talking about. No fidgety behavior. They go straight up and they cut off the piece. I'm talking about male lions. Everything was moving around. All of them. Like, whoa. I mean, it was like 22. Go ahead, B.
I was like enjoying what Tiger said with Dave. It never even crossed my mind. All the places I've been, it never crossed my mind that you don't need a passport for VI in Puerto Rico. It never crossed my mind.
Yeah, I never thought about that either.
That's good stuff.
You say you would need a passport?
No, you don't.
You don't.
Right, for Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico or the Virgin Islands.
No, okay, I got you. I got exposed to that knowledge differently, so I knew it. I was in the military, so I got exposed to it differently, so I knew that part.
Hey man, they get food stamps in Puerto Rico, man.
Yeah, they vote.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yes.
And I knew all those things, but until Dave said it, and that's
Mhm.
another thing that was I was saying with Dave. I knew that. I knew that. Hell, at one point, the Philippines was part of the United States. But you don't think, man, I'm going to the Virgin Islands. I could just go.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could go. I could just go to Guam.
True story, brother. Come on, man.
I could just. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the DR is the same way, right?
Dominican Republic? I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so. Let me take a quick look at that real quick while we wrapping up.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, anyway, plug y'all stuff one more time, man, before we get out of here. We finna get out of here, man. We are coming up on
Do you think, Tiger?
Oh man, just Google me, man. Tiger Toledo. That's TIGER TOLEDO, like Toledo, Ohio. Just Google me, and then you'll be able to see all the cool things I got going on.
You can find them on the End of the Bench podcast next Sunday at 10
Yeah, I'm
o'clock.
excited about that, man.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I got to do it like that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm
You
saying?
gotta leave the cliffhanger. I get it.
Yeah, Big B is my man. So Big B, I got your back. It's all time. You know what I'm saying? Big B, we ain't gonna have Big B on here. You know what I'm saying? Confession that he burned out no more. Like he all right.
No, on sports, not my show.
I know. I said sports.
End of the
I
bench,
said,
bro.
no, I
I
didn't
could
say
do
sports.
that every day.
I didn't say sports. Well,
Because
you know what? Hey, Brian, we're not scared to do a show other than sports. We was just saying that if that was in your heart, you ain't gotta let it die, because we got that in us too. We can weave in and out, because there's so many different analogies that go on in sports. That's in us too. And we doing this in front of the whole world right now. We're doing this right here in front of the whole world right now to let you know we formulating. This is a pre-production meeting to the collaboration right here in front of the entire world. And so what? You know, and I'm on some so what stuff. My sons is grown. I've been a man as a single father. My sons is grown right now. I'm okay with who I am, wherever I am, the late bloomer. They call me the late bloomer. Like Tucker gave us a confession. He failed 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade. He was 27 years old when he graduated high school. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You understand what I'm saying?
I was 20, Rob. I wasn't 27. They would have put me in an alternative school.
Hey, hold on. That's why I was like, let me not laugh, man.
No, but Rob is right though. I was a super duper senior. You know what I mean? It is what it was. You know. But now I can turn around and be like, you know, tell the young cats don't give up.
True story. True story.
and
But 27 though, I was about to say 27 though, man.
Right, yeah, right.
No.
I don't know if that's inspiring.
He's like, boy, that boy got tenacity, man. Shit, he stayed in high school to 27.
He was marrying.
Look,
No, he was marrying teacher.
Take us
Man,
along.
you know what I'm saying?
you learn how to write a book.
Oh man. Anyway, hey, so no, you do need a passport to go to DR.
Okay.
Yeah,
You don't?
you do.
Oh, okay.
Affirmative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had never even, and I love to travel. It never crossed my mind that, like, hey, man, you can go to Guam, and Guam is a beautiful place.
All right, man. I'm gonna go ahead and take the ball, man, and put myself, man. It's your boy Ernest, man.
Who wrote?
I love psychology, man, and counseling and coaching, and you know that's what I do. Pastor for several years now, and I'm not no Reverend Chicken Bone pastor. You know, right now we're dealing with the concept of prayer, and we've been going through different prayers in the Bible, and just showing the people, man, that in these prayers, these people mention their ancestors. And I'm like, man, why don't we use our ancestors when we pray? You see what I'm saying? Why don't we they refer to them consistently? So, you know, these are the kinds of things to be pointing out, man, in the kind of community that we're dealing with, the spiritual community. So I just wanted to pub that. You know, right now we're in a 21-day fast and prayer, 6:30 in the morning. So right now, you know, fasting is not just simply about denying ourselves food. It's about putting your actions where your mouth is. You know what I'm saying? Standing behind that. What you got there, brother? What's that?
This is Babonku. Well, I'm West Indian, so my family is from Haiti. So when you said ancestors, I actually poured some out for the ancestors because of the show today. So let you know.
And as you can see, man, right behind me, man, I got my ancestors right there, man.
Love it. Love it.
I got the brother Harold Washington, you know what I'm saying, the mayor of Chicago, he's an ancestor.
Indeed.
Got my auntie, got my brother, got my uncle, auntie. You know what I'm saying? I got the pyramid, got my babies there, you know. And then this is a book right here that my daughter just wrote, my oldest daughter wrote, man, on Amazon. So again, man, you know, I definitely believe in ancestors, man. And I just right now we just pointing that out in our prayers and just kind of being able to implement that in terms of the magic of being able to speak things into existence, because that's what prayer is.
Indeed.
It's invocation. You know what I'm saying? So, man, we believe in etymology, epistemology, and ontology. You know what I'm saying? That's how we study. You know what I'm saying? We don't let other people control the way we think. We look at what it is, the data, you know what I'm saying? And obviously use the ancestors on the other side to help us synthesize that information so that way, you know what I'm saying, we can think better, be better people, and pass that legacy on to our children. So with that, that's your brother, this your boy. You can find me on Ernest Sense, Instagram. You can also find me under Ernest L. Johnson on Facebook. And we do have a private group, a Storehouse Community Fellowship Church private group. If you're interested, you know, we can share the videos and all that kind of good stuff so you can see what we do. With that, that's your boy and I'm in.
Ernest Cents, like pennies.
Yep. No, like sense, like you got sense. Ernest Sense. Ernest
Like common sense.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Ernest Sense.
I'll say it. I'll say it like I knew. Like common sense. Like I said it like I knew. Like, you know.
You got a new follower.
Thank you, brother. All right, where you at, Rob? Who are you, man?
Hey, check this out, man. I'm on one thing and one thing only, man. I'm in a real good space in life right now. You know, it's like I'm in a space where it's like I'm trying to figure out what should I be saying to the world, what you call moralistically, like for real. Because a lot of stuff that's going on, like at the end of the day, I'm at a crazy spot where I feel satisfied about the expressions I put out there already, you know, in life. As far as raising my kids are 28 and 22 right now. And the reason why I say that is it's crazy, man, because I put a lot of sacrificial years in with family, you know, so I had to go through a lot of years of, you know, taking some big blows to the chin and blows to the face, you know, putting all this good, what you call self-righteous behavior out there, right? Because it became self-righteous behavior because it had an expectation to it. It had an expectation to say, if I put this out there, I expect the community of giving and giving back. So I'm saying all that to say, I'm in a space right now and I ain't worried about all that right now. I'm not worried about all that right now. What I'm worried about right now is, do we got enough people with enough courage to put out some content that's necessary for us as men to move forward and connect with each other, and you know, and do what's necessary to what you call be what we need to be supportive, and be honest with each other enough to say that ain't a good look, that's not good, that ain't no good thing. What do we need to do to tweak what you're doing right now so you can be connected to the purest intent of yourself? So I'm in a space like that right now. So to a lot of people, that could come off as, you know, you might see me like you see me sipping my wine right here. Like, dude, like, nah, ain't no alcoholic, ain't nothing. I'm just good. I know if I die tomorrow, I know everybody who know me know that I love them. I know that all those expressions that was put out there was supposed to be out there, right? So how do you describe that space? How do you describe that, what that space seemed like? All I know is I'm there for Tiger. I'm there for Brian. I'm there for Ernest. I'm there for Kelvin. I'm there for Dave. And I'm going to be honest when I show up. So with that being said, I'm in. You understand what I'm saying? I'm in.
I hear you, brother.
Flat out. No, I ain't got no ambitions, no motives. You know, everybody who come in on our platform, our responsibility is to make them get honest. Don't come talking, man, if you ain't gonna be honest. If you're not gonna follow up, if you ain't gonna be about what you're talking about. Everybody who come on our platform, like some cats be talking about it and trying to be about it, be trying to act like they fake. I have no ambitions to be at the top of the mountain as a rich dude. It ain't no piece of coochie I ain't ever got that I didn't want. Car, feel good, had them brand new off the showroom floor. You know what I mean? I don't need for nothing. Like I ain't in no debt. I owe nobody nothing. Now what we gonna do? What we gonna talk about? How we gonna go conquer some earth, some land? Right? That's what I'm on.
I hear you. That man about that action.
Right.
That's what I'm on.
I
How
hear
do we do that? So with that, catch us on YouTube. Collective Perspective. That's one of the platforms that I'm on. I'm
Like
gonna
it.
take it slow when I describe. That's one of the perspectives I'm on. Collective Perspective on YouTube. Go ahead, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. So because we creating our own audience. I mean, I want Tiger Toledo in this audience.
Yeah.
We creating our own audience. I want a Big Brian, big man on the audience. Whatever he's doing, we got to create our own audience so we can network with each other through our own audience. How do we do that? Y'all want to be talking all this talk we talking about? Black man, black. I support y'all. Y'all support me, I support y'all. Quit playing. You understand what I'm saying? Well, if you sell, I'm going to get Tiger Toledo book. It ain't no I might get it. I'm gonna buy it, and I'm gonna tell y'all I bought it because I support him. Right? Brian doing whatever Brian doing, I'm gonna go support it. He don't want to do no sports show no more. We don't got to do no sports show. You want to do that? What you need me to do? Support it. Period. I'm on that. I'm in a good space to be on that. You understand
Man,
what I'm
you
saying?
in a good space, bro. You in a good space, man.
I'm in a good
He in a
space,
good
man.
space. He in a good space. That's that wine he been drinking.
No, ain't no wine.
Jesus.
No, hey,
Come to Jesus wine.
ain't no wine. Wine, man. Wine. No, we ain't talking about no wine. We talking about something else. Talking about this. This is what we talking about, bro.
Collective Perspective, man. Y'all like it. Y'all subscribe to it, man. Let's just
You know what
get
I'm saying?
Bill. Let's
I don't do this much preaching that much. I don't do this much preaching. But when I get my emotions, like I'm in my emotions right now, I'm preaching right a little bit. Here's the thing, man. It's like I've been a mentor for 3 years, doing basketball and beyond as a perspective, talking about young men. And I've seen what it is when fathers ain't in them cribs. Some of the stuff we looking at that's going on out here, man, it's these Negro sons that ain't at the crib. They locked up, right? We're talking about our societal problems. We can't talk about it. We be trying to articulate our societal problems. Our societal problems is based on the fact that fatherhood is a catastrophe of a bad thing. That's a bad thing when you ain't at the crib. Dude, I can't even imagine raising my sons if I wasn't the one that was there. Lil Rob at 28. All right, Ernest. Ernest told me, man, you know what I'm saying? I'm yapping.
Subjects, man. You bringing up new subjects, man. We done.
All right.
We done, brother.
All right, we done.
But
All right.
yeah. But one thing before we go, I don't not like sports anymore. It's just maybe burnout wasn't the right word. I should have said I'm bored with it because after talking to TC for half hour, I can see where that fire can be relit. I'm tired of hearing me talk about sports.
Yeah. Okay.
You tired of what?
Hearing my voice on sports. I'm a debater. I need an antagonist and a protagonist. Like I said, like you used the lion thing. What good would it do for the lion to just walk around the plains and never run into an elephant or gazelle? He's just walking around and he just walk up on a dead carcass every day. He eat or he show up and a gazelle drop dead and then he just go over there and eat it. A lion wouldn't function properly. And that's how I feel I am.
Yeah, you're right. Because now you're talking about the community of the law of community. You know what I'm saying? Because if the lions overeat, obviously they're going to overpopulate and they're going to exterminate themselves. That's just the law of nature. You know what I'm saying? So you have to have some breaks on it. You know. So I feel you, brother. You do. You just need some new blood. That's all. You know, new style of conversation. I'm glad to hear about the collaboration, man. I'm looking forward to hearing this, I'm looking
You
forward
gonna
to
come on one Sunday, man.
Yeah, of
And man,
course.
these Negroes, man, these Negroes shook hands, man. They was arguing from jump, man. Him and TC was arguing from
That
jump, man.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
Oh, that's
from
love.
jump. I was like, dang, I said, this was up, man. Well, debating. I ain't gonna say arguing. Arguing is a bad word.
No, that's our,
Debating.
but you know what? That's our communal word, an argument.
Yeah.
Right.
So hey y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the stream, man, because we just kind of talking that. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop the stream. Hey, again, for y'all, those of you that are listening, man, we got Tiger on here. Y'all make sure y'all check him out. We got B on here. Y'all make sure y'all check him out. We got the Collective Perspective. Check us out on YouTube, subscribe and like. You know what I'm saying? And hit that notification button on all of these brothers that's on here because we dropping real live good information that's useful. I definitely got Tiger's book. I got a couple of notaries in my family. I'm gonna make sure they get their hands on this book so that way,
Awesome.
we can develop our crew, man. So with that, love y'all. Appreciate y'all sticking through, especially man, our boy Grady, man. He dropped so many comments, man, in the on the Man Up page, man. I just want to give a shout out to that brother, man, for sticking with us the entire time, man. Peace, y'all.